I'm not going to be going to see Snow White at the cinema, and this is my official breakup letter to Disney. Today is going to be my official argument about why Snow White and Tangled should not have been made or are in the process of being made into live actions at all in the first place, and why they should have been left alone as the classics that they are. Because yes, I heard at the end of 2024 that a Tangled remake is in the works, and even though production hasn't started yet, so we don't really know what this project will end up looking like or who will be cast, I have a very bad feeling about it, judging by Disney's recent track record. I love Tangled. This one is one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm actually going to make a whole YouTube video about why I love it so much and why it's so well put together. And so when I heard that it was going to get a live action, I should have been excited, but instead I was very much fearful because I don't want them to mess it up. Whereas with Snow White, I wasn't so bothered because this was never a favorite classic of mine. However, this is so dumb to be making this into a movie. We've got so many other Snow Whites that have come out a million times before. We had Once Upon a Time with Snow White, and the actress absolutely bodied that role. We didn't need another one. We had Lily Collins in Mirror Mirror as Snow White. Is there a better Snow White than Lily Collins? I don't think so. Again, she nailed that role. We had Julia Roberts playing the evil queen, and she infused the evil queen with the perfect amount of shrewdness, charisma, and also narcissism that worked so wonderfully. And Snow White's dwarves were all so sweet, such lovely friends, and they were perfect. And we've had it done so many times before. Same with Cinderella. We've seen a million Cinderellas. There are so many movies out there that could be redone potentially into a live action. And Snow White is just not one of them. We could have had a Princess and the Frog, right? That movie had many issues. And actually, I think it deserves a second chance because it didn't do that well when it came out at the box office, and I think it could have done better. There's a lot of problems once Princess Tiana's actually turned into a frog, where there is kind of a decline in the overall quality of the movie, and I think she spent far too much time as a frog. And yeah, I think we could do that and make it better. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can definitely improve this story. It's not one of my favorites. Same with Thumbelina, for example. I think this could have been improved. It's a bit outdated, you know. But Snow White, no, absolutely not. Even the fact that the main concept of this is her saying, I want to be a leader, I want to take over the kingdom, and they're acting like this is an ironic new concept, and it's so dumb because that has been done before. In Mirror Mirror, Snow White is fighting with a sword and she's wanting to be a rebel. We already had it in Snow White and the Huntsman with her being a rebel and fighting. We do not need a repeat of this. This is not the first time that we've seen this before, and frankly, we're sick of it. So Disney, you and I need to have a chat because I am really not happy at the moment. I'm not happy with where this is going, and this is one of these cases where I'm actually not going to be going to the cinema to see it. I did it with The Little Mermaid. I gave it a chance. I'm not giving them my money now. I'm not going to go see it because I am disappointed, and I think the best thing that I can do as a consumer at this point is to punish them a bit by showing them my disappointment and saying, like, until you step up and you stop being lazy and you raise the bar, I'm not going to keep supporting you, you know, and paying to see your stuff. And it's painful for me to say this, but they have the money and the budget to really take risks, to reinvent the stories, to really make it perfect, and they're not trying hard enough. And they're also overcorrecting because they were so worried about people criticizing them, and so they're girl-bossifying every single princess in a way that I really don't like. And it's highly ironic, but there was a period of time on Tumblr, on BuzzFeed, and on YouTube where people were being very vocal and they were calling out how sexist and outdated Disney is. There were parodies of it circulating and going really viral. and all of the toxic messages that Disney promoted about love. And obviously Disney as a business took notes and they were like, okay, we don't want to do that anymore. So let's create really feminist girl boss characters. And now they've taken it way too far, where it almost seems like every single princess in the last few years has been like adamantly single and independent, or they're changing things in the live actions to try and emphasize this girl bossery at the detriment of the story. For example, in The Little Mermaid, one of the biggest things that annoyed me is that the Little Mermaid herself goes and kills Ursula and saves herself. The whole point in the original was that Eric was meant to save her and stab Ursula with the boat, because this was an example of humans and mermaids working together and being friends, and it was meant to be the incident that made King Triton see that actually humans aren't that bad after all. When you take that away, it detracts from the message of the story. I grew up, again, like loving Disney. Tangled, The Lady and the Tramp, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, that was my jam. Like, I genuinely was in love with 101 Dalmatians. I watched it so many times, and I was very supportive then when the live actions came out, but not anymore. Like, for example, when Cinderella came out, the live action, I really enjoyed that. But they don't seem to have learned what they did right with that, because not a single one they've done since has been good like that. And I loved the live action Cinderella. It was an amazing movie. I may even make a whole YouTube video about that. Like, let me know if you maybe want that and you want me to compare all of the live actions that we've seen in Disney throughout the years and why they're bad. But Cinderella was really the only good one that felt accurate and like they actually understood the characters. But ever since then, it's been going downhill and hasn't really felt true to the story or authentic. And now it's just feeling like a bit of cash grab to bank on people's nostalgia and the fact that they're reminiscing on the old movies. Literally every single time they try and do a live action, they're doing Dumbo, they're doing The Lion King, they're doing Mulan, it gets progressively worse and more embarrassing. So no, I'm not looking forward to Snow White when it comes out at the end of March, because I'm sure it will be absolutely terrible. And Tangled I'm even more fearful of, because this is my baby, and if they do it, they need to really nail it, because it was so good and perfect that I'm worried it's just not gonna live up to the original, okay?
You should know that this is the strangest thing I've ever done!
Let's just watch the trailer together, shall we? And then you can let me know what you think.
This was my father's kingdom, a place of fairness, but the Queen changed everything.
Take him away!
Your Majesty,
What did you say?
the people need some kindness.
You know, I really don't remember you being this opinionated. Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
Famed is thy beauty, Majesty. But a lovely maiden I now behold.
I look at you, and I just want to be the fairest of them all.
The Queen is evil. You must flee into the woods.
My parents always said this forest was a magical place. Hello? Is there anybody here?
Oh my god!
It's a human.
What did you think I was?
Nothing. Ghost. You'll be safe from the Queen here.
The Queen stole everything from all of us.
If you never watched the original classic, maybe you'll think that this trailer doesn't look too bad. If you have seen the original, I know Snow White was never like the most incredible movie ever made. It seems quite maybe outdated now. But it was still like the first Disney princess movie. She's our first Disney princess. They had the most beautiful traditional like hand-drawn animation at the time that really popularized Disney and established them as a big name. And it was one of the best-selling movies of the era, and I feel like it deserves better than this. The first problem here is just the overall CGI and editing. These dwarves in particular are so poorly edited and badly rendered. It's actually shocking. And I already had a lot of concerns when I saw The Little Mermaid because of the way they edited the animal friends and the way that they CGI'd multiple things, and even the color of Ariel's hair, because it looked brownish and not really a striking red. But this is like that, and just up to 100. It is so poorly done, particularly with the dwarves and the animals here. That's really what catches my eye. And I cannot believe that they could have such a big budget and do it badly, especially because Disney was originally made famous for having really high quality animation. It's meant to be maintaining that standard, you know, like if you go and watch any scene from Sleeping Beauty or Beauty and the Beast, you're going to see the most beautiful, stunning, classic, old animation, and it just doesn't look like this now, first of all. Also, we've got a very strange orangish filter that I don't know why they put that on there. And my biggest issue here is actually the dwarves, because it's like the most horrific, ghastly, demonic editing CGI that makes them look terrifying, rather than just using actual people, like casting actual people with dwarfism. Then you can have real actors, because let's be real, we want real actors over something edited and fake always. What is the point of making a live action if everything's going to be CGI'd and edited? I thought the point of live action is it's meant to feel real, right? Like, what is the point? And again, there's actual people out there who are looking for acting jobs and want to be taken seriously in the industry, and this feels very non-inclusive and very disrespectful to that. And originally, when Disney was talking about this movie, they released a photo of a cast of who they were going to make the dwarves, and they were all in different heights, ethnicities, looks. And then people were really mad and they were like, you can't be serious. This seems so forced, fake woke, like you're trying so hard to be inclusive. And Disney later backtracked and claimed they had to do a lot of reshoots. But then they turned up with these animated dwarves. And I just feel so incredibly disappointed by that. I feel like it will make the movie very soulless as a result. But the other thing that strikes me, and this is just me, okay, I'm an aesthetic driven person. Look, I'm literally dressed up as Snow White today, okay? I'm dressed up as her today because this is how much I love aesthetics, okay? See? The costumes are terrible, terrible. And the hair is so ugly. Like, the whole point is that Snow White was meant to have this vintage, like, I guess 1930s or like medieval vibe with this beautiful bob. The hair is so ugly, it does not do her any justice. No one would look good in that hairstyle. I don't know how they messed it up. They could have given her a beautiful medieval headpiece, they could have given her a tiara, they could have woven some pearls through her hair, they could have given her a pixie cut, they could have given her just a slightly longer, a bob with more movement. Like, it's not that hard. I don't know how they made her hair look so ugly. And where's the red lip? Snow White, she's meant to have really red lips and blush on her cheeks. This looks bad. Their argument was, oh, we want her to look young. What are you talking about? What do you mean? You can have red lips and still look young, especially if the lips is the statement, okay? And I understand that they didn't want to put powder on her to make her look really, really pale. And I agree, I would have not been okay if they were doing that. They should leave her natural looks and her skin tone as it is. But if they just made her hair a shade darker and actually made it jet black as it's supposed to be in the original story, that would already leave a really cool Snow White-ish contrast between her hair and her skin, and just create a more very distinctly Snow White look altogether. And if I hear anyone in the comments saying, oh, she's just not pretty enough to be Snow White, I disagree. I disagree. First of all, that's mean. And second of all, if you look at the actress on various red carpet events, there are many outfits and stylings and makeup choices that make her look very ethereal and like a princess. They've just done her dirty with this. They've literally just tried to make her look as ugly as possible. I promise you, she could have suited the role better if they just gave her some flattering outfits, because who would look good in this? She's wearing a fluorescent bright yellow tulle skirt. This looks so tacky. Like she's 3 going to a birthday party. Like it looks like a costume dress. And then the bodice has this really ugly collar that just looks really unflattering, and these little red ballet slippers that again make her look like a 3-year-old. It is so ugly, and I'm not happy with the Red Queen either. She's got this really tight thing around her neck and her head that makes it look like she can't move properly. And I understand it looks similar in that animation, right? But they should have made it look better than this. Her whole costume looks cheap and tacky, and it's not giving. And by the way, everyone's talking about the main actress and how she shouldn't have been cast. I'm sorry. I love myself some Gal. She's a great actress, but she should not be playing the evil queen. She does not suit this role. She does not have the right type of sinister charisma for this, and I just don't think this is going to work. And you know, I hated Belle's dress in Beauty and the Beast too. The only dress I liked was Cinderella's. Why do they keep messing up the clothes? It's not that hard. Where is Snow White's red bow? The whole point is she's meant to have a red bow in her hair. They could have at least given her some bow earrings or something, like a little reference to the bow. Like, it's so sad. It just doesn't look anything like Snow White. Another thing you may have noticed from this trailer, which really stood out to me, is there is a man that appears for a second, so I guess he's a very small part of the film, or he's like a side character, but the prince really seems to be sidelined in importance in this movie. In the original story, he was obviously a prince that came and saved her and kissed her when she was in the coffin. Now, I understand they don't want to have a prince kiss an unconscious woman in a coffin that didn't consent. That's an inherently problematic idea, and I'm not saying, oh, they should do that. Like, of course not. But I will say that there were ways around this where they could have still made him an important part of the film. In the original film, he was a very, very boring, nameless, non-fleshed out character. So they had an opportunity now to redo it and make him super funny and interesting, like they did with Prince Charming in the Cinderella sequels. And I find this more insulting that they seem to think that women not wanting love makes them more empowering, or a woman in love is inherently weak. Like, there's nothing lame or pathetic about falling in love and having a love interest. And I was fine with like Elsa, for example, because she seemed like such an independent-minded character and her own storylines were so important. She genuinely didn't need a man. And same with Brave. I actually really love that that's primarily about a mother-daughter relationship, and just men aren't part of the picture at all. I love that. I love that movie so much. So I'm not saying, oh, you need to have a love interest, not at all. But sometimes it's just nice to have one. It's just nice to have one. Like in Tangled, if they removed Flynn Rider from Tangled, I would absolutely cry, because he's an important part of the film. And it just feels really, really lame that they are correlating it with weakness, because you can be in love and still be a strong character. And in terms of the casting of our main actress, Rachel, I think they need to have some sort of protection laws in place for protecting their actors, because the amount of hate and vitriol that our actress who played Ariel received, Halle, was crazy. She did not deserve that. No one deserves this, regardless of who they are. And the same thing's now happened with Rachel. And I love me some Rachel. Like, I don't think she's as bad as people say. Like, let's calm down. Okay, she made some comments we disagree with. She doesn't seem passionate about the prince in the original story. Like, okay, I get it, like that it rubbed people the wrong way, but at the same time, like, it just seems so harsh, like the amount of clapback and hatred she received. And what concerned me more, because it happened with her and the actress who played Ariel, Halle, is that they're not being protected by Disney. So all the focus and the hate and the criticism goes onto these two actresses, and everyone's just slam dunking them, saying that they're not deserving and you should only pick a princess who's actually excited about the original source material and they're ungrateful and all this stuff. And we're so focused on them, but then actually in a way, we're distracted from blaming the real problems, who are Disney, and they kind of get away scot-free because a lot of the hate goes on to the actresses. And I just don't feel like they're being properly protected from this, you know? And I just feel like this is really reflecting the direction, especially in America, that it's going in, because this should not be a big deal. I think a perfect example is Belle. We had Emma Watson being cast as Belle in Beauty and the Beast. I thought it was bad casting. She is one of the most beautiful women I've ever laid my eyes on, but I don't think she has the correct soft face shape to play Belle, and she can't sing. So I think there was a better option. Okay? Just because she's stunning doesn't mean she's right for the role, in my opinion. We had Guinevere in Merlin. People were not expecting her to look the way she did. They were expecting her to be white. And Angel Colby completely nailed the role. She had the exact energy that she needed to have. And yes, she got some hate for it and some racism and some racist comments, but overall, when people look back on that role, at least for me, I couldn't imagine anyone else playing Guinevere because I think she was perfect. So I'm not looking forward to this live action coming out for Snow White. I think they could have done better and I'm disappointed. But then what bothered me even more at the end of last year was hearing that Tangled was indeed in the works for a live action, because like that movie came up very recently. It is too soon to be doing a live action. It is way too soon. Like, I thought you were meant to let it sit for like at least 20 years or something, to let it simmer a little bit, you know, let it marinate. Like, because I'm so worried, I'll get into it in a second, but I'm worried about the animation, I'm worried about the casting, I'm worried about the misunderstanding and misrepresenting the original characters, and I'm worried about the music, and I'm worried about the whole girl bossification. I've got so many fears, so let's just get into them one by one. The first thing being the casting. I've heard that they're currently considering Florence Pugh and Sabrina Carpenter even. People were saying it should be her. I think both of these are genuinely terrible options. If they cast Sabrina Carpenter, I swear to God, like, yes, she can sing, but like, just know, she's giving a sexy baddie, confident queen. She seems far too old and mature for this kind of role. Rapunzel's meant to be very young, innocent, naive, chirpy, and playful, and that's just a no for me regarding Sabrina. Even though she does look like her, it's not enough. And then Florence is just beyond ridiculous to me because her voice is so deep and she seems so strong and mature, and it's just not giving young Rapunzel at all. Maybe Rapunzel in like 30 years or something, but no. And then I heard some people saying Amanda Seyfried. I'm like, she's too old. Isn't she in her 40s? Like, she looks physically like the right fit, but she's too old. We need someone young and fresh, and it shouldn't be one of these big overhyped names everyone talks about all the time, someone at the front of the media at the moment. It should be a new up-and-coming actress, or it should be someone from the West End or a musical theatre kid, or maybe someone they've been in some stuff, but they're not like the most famous person ever. And I feel like that has so much of a higher chance of doing really well. Then second of all, we've got the Flynn Rider problem with the casting of him. The whole point of Flynn Rider is that he's meant to be just this unrealistic male perfection. No man actually exists that is as perfect as Flynn Rider, okay? They got a bunch of women in a room and asked them what their ideal man looked and behaved like, and that's how they generated Flynn Rider. He's literally the epitome of the dream man. The suaveness, the playfulness, the bravery, the vulnerability, the charm, the smolder. Where are you gonna find someone that has his smolder?
Here comes the smolder.
And on top of that, even if they nail his mannerisms and his acting, will they be able to find someone that has the right physical look? Because he's also the culmination of all these women's opinions on the most attractive features on a man. Are you telling me there's actually a man out there that looks like that? Now, apparently there's one at Disney World at the moment who's going famous on Instagram, but he's got blue eyes. Flynn's meant to have brown eyes, is not meant to have blue eyes. The thing about Mother Gothel is she is a very specific character. She has her own vibe and mannerisms, so the only actress that could possibly play her well is the same actress who actually did her vocals and did the voice acting in the original movie.
Well, at the beginning she's like, you want to go outside, Rapunzel? She said, look at you, as fragile as a flower, still a little sapling, just a sprout.
She bodies this role, there's no one else like her, and we can't then just cast someone else, it won't work. My other concern is the animals, because we had the little chameleon and we had the fun horse. Now, to be fair, these animals don't talk, so that's good. So it's not like they have to talk, but the animals have a lot of physical comedy. Like when you have the horse fighting Flynn Rider, they're fighting. It's really, really funny. And even though they could use a real horse, let's say, that's going to ruin a lot of the humor, because no real horse will engage in these fights with Flynn like that, where they're chasing each other around or punching each other. So then they could animate one with CGI, but again, I fear that they will not do this very well. And then that will be a real shame, because we'll lose one of the most funny and defining characteristics of the movie, which is the whole development of the friendship between Flynn and the horse. And what made it so good in the original is you could really see the horse's personality through his facial expressions. So this is going to be really hard. Same with the chameleon. Like, I have no idea how they're going to do that without it looking tacky like it did in The Little Mermaid. And it would just be a shame to, let's say, remove him altogether, because he was meant to be Rapunzel's friend and companion, so it just seems a shame to have her be completely alone. So these are all really massive issues, but my other issue is actually involving the overall cozy feel and the charm of the original movie and the animation, because if you watch the original Tangled, the way they do color is perfect. I never realized how important color was until I watched someone's YouTube video about color theory in The Little Mermaid and how washed out it was. And I was like, yeah, you're so right, because you know, it's for kids, it's a family film, it's meant to be bright and colorful. And the thing about the original movie Entangled is that it's got a very distinct, unique, memorable feeling, and the setting too, right? We've got the bar, we've got the tower, we've got the beautiful ways that the willow trees create a pathway to the tower, we've got the castle, and we've got the floating lantern scene, and we've got the scene where they dance in the square, and the way the actual village looks is very specific. So I'm really worried that they're going to try and animate it and not really capture the essence of the original movie in a way that is satisfying for the audience, or that they will wash everything out like they've been doing lately in Disney and make it bland and just dead and lifeless like they did in The Little Mermaid, going for this kind of edgy, mysterious feel, which would be such a shame, because I'm worried then that it won't look like how it's supposed to look, because they may just drain everything of color. And same with the floating lantern scene. You have to include that scene, it's important. But the reason why it worked in the original is because of the fact that it was animated. So you could just fill the screen with color and edit in and animate in as many lanterns as you wanted to have it be this completely immersive experience. But at the moment in Disney films, it's been very, very dark. So I'm worried they'll do it in a way where it's actually hard to see what's going on. And lately in Disney, for example, the scene in The Little Mermaid on the boat where they float out and then they sing Kiss the Girl, it was too dark. It was hard to see what was going on, and it did not capture at all the magic of the original. So I'm worried if they botch that scene, the boat scene, which was always one of my favorites in the original, I don't trust that they will do this scene justice, which would absolutely break my heart, because I remember when I was in the cinema and I saw it for the first time, this floating lantern scene, everyone like audibly gasped, and my dad was like, wow, that scene was stunning. Like, it really made an impact for everyone, like for the whole family. And it would be such a shame if they ruin it, and you can't just, let's say, remove it. But you know, that's going to be very difficult. Like, are they actually going to go and light hundreds of lanterns? I mean, slay if they do, but I have a feeling they'll probably be inside a film set in a room and maybe CGI it, and that just seems like a real shame to me. The animation, this is sort of linked to the animation point. Rapunzel's hair. This is maybe my biggest fear of all, even beyond the casting. What are they going to do about her hair? because I already had a problem with what they did with the Little Mermaid's hair, and she didn't even have that much hair, right? They've already proven now through Snow White they don't know how to do hair, as we've seen in the trailer. And this is simple. This is real hair. They just needed to style it. They can't even style her hair and do her costumes correctly. How are they going to then be able to pull off this massive feat of animating hundreds of feet of long gold flowing locks and maintain that quality with good rendering and have it look realistic and have it look sharp throughout the entire movie? Like, good luck. Now, I know they have the budget, but that's not the point. I'm worried they're going to be lazy with it because it will be extremely distracting and it's going to look hilariously bad if the whole movie you're distracted by how bad her hair looks. But again, you can't just, let's say, have her chop off her hair, right? Because it's an important part of the story. In fact, in the original movie, part of what made the comedy so good and what made it so interesting is she constantly uses her hair. Her hair is a character in itself. She uses it to open doors. She uses it to cook. She always throws her hair down so Mother Gothel can grab onto it and climb up the tower. She uses it to fight people. She uses it to grab Flynn and swing when they need to escape to safety. So the hair is a very active character in this film, so they really need to do a good job with it, right, to have it look good, which I'm worried about. But also, let's say she just puts it back, or she puts it in a braid, you know, like a really long braid. Maybe it's like not super long, but it just goes down to her feet and she walks around like that. That would look super beautiful. But then it means that she can't use it to do the cooking and do the cleaning and do her artwork. Like, she won't be using it at all, so that would be a bit of a shame. But then also when she goes into the city square and she dances with Flynn, I guess we won't be able to have that scene where the little girls braid her hair and put loads of flowers in it, which would be a shame because that felt like a really special moment for her character. That was really beautiful and it really meant something to her, and that was meant to be a moment where Flynn really looked at her and was like, wow, you know, she's so beautiful. And I have a big fear around that, especially with how they get up to the tower, because she's meant to use her hair and Mother Gothel's meant to climb up the tower to get in. So, and also it's meant to glow. It's meant to glow underwater. How are they going to animate that well without it looking terrible? You know, there's a lot of complications that come up here, and I'm very concerned that they're going to lose the actual comedy of the movie if they remove the hair. Let's say if they remove the animals, it's going to be a lot more of a boring film without those side characters. Or I'm really worried they're gonna like play it up too much and they're gonna have constant goofy comedy the whole time with Flynn attacking the horse and her tripping over her own hair or something, and it's just going to be like this one big goofy thing, and they're not going to understand the message of the original. Because that's the thing, if they try and girl bossify it, I'm going to be so mad, because all the characters there serve a purpose, and Rapunzel was her own character. Her whole cycle of character development is that she is an abuse victim. She's got an abusive mother. She's had her life stolen, and she has basically been trapped in a tower with one person isolating her and using her, exploiting her for her hair. And she then gets an opportunity to go and explore the outside world for the first time, and then is guilt-tripped and shamed for it and has to fight back against someone she once thought was a mother figure. And it's a very, very depressing concept when you think about it. So I would say she does go through a lot of trials and tribulations, and her one dream in this movie is to go and see the floating lanterns, because that would mean so much to her, and this is a physical manifestation of her desire for freedom. You can't just erase it. This whole goal is actually very important for her. Now, to us, going and seeing some floating lanterns isn't that big a deal because we do it all the time. But the whole point is because she's so bored and trapped like a prisoner in this tiny little tower, and she never sees anything, and her life must be so monotonous. To her, stepping outside into the world and going and seeing these lanterns is actually like the biggest dream ever. And it's also symbolic because it's linked to the fact that she's the lost princess and that every year the lanterns are lit for her, which is very symbolic and is not something that she's even aware of. So it's really important to me that they maintain it. And I'm worried that because they have this pattern of like changing things and changing the princess's decisions to make them seem more cool, like with Mulan, they're trying to give her magic powers to make her seem really cool. I'm worried they're going to be like, oh, you know, she needs to leave by herself because a man shouldn't save her, or oh, she needs a more impressive goal because it's kind of boring that she just wants to see the floating lanterns, or you know what I mean, that they're going to miss in some way her original goal and try and girl bossify it for us. Or maybe that she'll chop off her own hair in an act of defiance against Mother Gothel rather than Flynn doing it. And that would mean we're literally missing so many important parts of the story, because in the original story Flynn is the one to cut off Rapunzel's hair himself with a knife, and it was meant to show his true love for her, that he doesn't care what her hair looks like, he loves her for her, and he will never use her or exploit her for anything. In fact, he's actively rejecting what most people will try and use and exploit her for, whereas Mother Gothel would always want Rapunzel to have her hair because she just sees her as a walking resource that she can exploit, right? So it's meant to really show how much Flynn loves her and the lengths he would go to protect her. And I think that that's really beautiful. And their romance is really lovely and it's a really important part of the film. I don't want them to erase it to try and make her seem more cool and independent. And I'm worried because they have a pattern in these Disney live actions now of missing the point of what made them famous, or almost seeming embarrassed about those classics they made and trying to undo it, which I think is really silly. Like, for example, the original Snow White story was about compassion and seeing kindness, cooking, baking at home, and it was made to resonate with women after the Great Depression. It had all these levels of symbolism to it, and her and Cinderella are very similar characters in that their primary goal is to lead with kindness and to have courage and be kind. It's meant to show that strength doesn't always look like fighting people. It looks like choosing forgiveness and choosing to hold love in your heart even when people have hurt you and the world can be cruel. So I will be really sad if they erase this in Tangled, or if they try and erase the innocence of Rapunzel's character. Because even in Snow White now, as we're seeing in this movie coming out in March, they're making a lot of it about her being this girl boss who wants to fight and who wants to rule the kingdom herself.
You have to run.
I'm not afraid to fight.
And be feisty and opinionated, right? And it's a bit annoying because, again, her original character, that was not her goal, was to dominate the world or be a leader, right? It was meant to be about being kind and being gentle and loving animals, you know? What really upsets me, I think this was around 2013, I need to verify this fact, but they stopped doing and they shut down the whole hand-drawn animation altogether, which I really hope that's not going to stay the case, but that really bothers me because I really loved the look of the original animations and I thought it was just very timeless and iconic. So I'm worried they're going to do that in this live action Tangled, where they create this modern feel to try and maybe resonate with people, and that it just won't look as charming anymore. Because the original Tangled, I just want to emphasize, is so gorgeous. Like, everything about it is just absolutely beautiful. I might go and rewatch it tonight, honestly. So I just really hope that they don't ruin it or make any weird changes to the music or to the songs or cast someone who can't sing, you know what I mean? There's so many things that can go wrong and I just don't trust them. I don't trust them to do a good job like maybe I used to, because they haven't proven that they truly understand the source material. Let me know what you think, and if you've gotten this far, then follow me on Instagram, and I will see you for the next video.
Also my birthday.
Just so you know.